John Heilemann is the managing editor of Bloomberg Politics. Good enough to join us on this Friday. John, good to see you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Ish. No, I mean, look,
Close enough.
by the time we see each other again, it will be 2017. So this is a little bit of
So Donald Trump, the last 2 days, has tweeted for people to get on with their lives, to move on to bigger and better things, but did yesterday again promise to meet with members of the intelligence community with whom he has been at odds here in recent weeks. What do you make of it all?
Well, look, this is a rare, one of the couple of rare situations in which Trump sees himself, his political interests are not in alignment with the Republican Party. So there are places where, on the question of Russia, on the question of his business conflicts, these are places where he's starting to get pushback from Republican members of the Senate. The Democrats are not Donald Trump's problem, at least in the short run. The problem that he has is with traditional institutional Republicans, and this is a place where he is somewhat, how far he goes, we don't know, but where he's at least coming to grips with the reality that he at least has to move a little bit towards the more traditional stance as president, saying, okay, I have to take this seriously. There's bipartisan agreement. This is a big problem. I'm going to at least make a perfunctory effort to appear like I'm taking this seriously as president, incoming president of the United States.
John, the administration's response is being described as the strongest American response ever taken to state-sponsored cyber attack. Do you think that President Obama didn't act soon enough on this issue? Will he face criticism?
Well, he's already faced criticism for not acting sooner. And, you know, there will always be now forever people will look back at the election of 2016 and ask the question of what would have happened. The United States government did name Russia as the perpetrators of cyber warfare in the middle of an election, that were an attempt to they did it at the time back in October, but we didn't take action at that time. The president didn't weigh in a strong way, in a vocal way at the time, even though the intelligence community did. And the question of what would have played out in October into the election had the administration gone fully there, done something like this at the time, will always be an open question. And for a lot of Democrats, particularly loyal Democrats who think in some way that Hillary Clinton should be president of the United States, they will always wonder whether Barack Obama was too restrained in October, trying to stay out of the politics of it, but whether that was a mistake.
John, we heard Kellyanne Conway referencing this front page New York Times article saying that the Obama administration is trying to box in the president-elect. What does that mean for our viewers, and do you think that's actually the case?
Well, we have seen on a variety of policy fronts the Obama administration openly on questions of environmental regulation and other areas, trying to say, you know, we're going to try to lock in the things that President Obama achieved over the course of 8 years. This is an area where I think, you know, there's no doubt that the president is doing what he thinks is right. And this was an unprecedented thing that happened, the attempt of Russia to intervene in an American election. I think that these sanctions can be overturned. Donald Trump could walk away from them. But there's no doubt that there's a marker being laid down here that's sort of saying, look, if you're going to do this, if you're going to roll these sanctions back, there's going to be a lot of questions and there's going to be potential political cost. So, yeah, in that sense, the Obama administration is trying to say this is not a partisan issue. This is an issue of national security. And Mr. Trump, if you're going to deviate from these sanctions, you're going to be doing it in a way that's going to look political to people. And that's going to have some cost to you as new president.
Quickly, John, we've seen Donald Trump invoke President Obama in glowing tones, but right. This transition seems to be less smooth and perhaps less peaceful by the day.
Yes, although it is funny to see Trump, you know, on Twitter, sort of doing his Wayne's World thing yesterday. Thought things were going well. Not.
Right.
But then coming out in front of reporters and saying, "Oh, well, we had a great conversation. Everything's still going great." You know, there's a little bit of a bipolar Trump right now, which is the Trump on Twitter, still speaking in kind of loud Technicolor tones to his base, and then the slightly more presidential Trump who appears when he does occasionally come out and take some questions from reporters. But there's no question that the rosy glow of that transition from the first few days has gotten a little bit less rosy as we get closer and closer to the inauguration.
Indeed. Heilemann's world, party on. Thank you, John.
Schwing.